He said I was his forever, made me burn every bridge to be with him. But then I found out he never left the girl he told me not to worry about. That's the sentence I hear in my head every night before I fall asleep, or try to. Some nights, it's a whisper, like a sad echo of a dream that died too slowly. Other nights, it's a scream tearing through my skull until I remember everything he made me lose. I gave him everything. Not just time, or effort, or love. I gave him my life. I burned bridges so completely that I didn't even leave ashes behind. Because I believed him. I believed in us. I believed in the forever he promised me like it was sacred. And he was playing both sides the whole time. But before you can understand the full weight of that betrayal, you need to understand who I was. Who I used to be, before Daniel came into my life and rewrote every chapter in ink I couldn't wash away. My name is Ellie. I'm 31 now, but when this all began, I was 27, wide-eyed, overworked, and convinced that if I just poured enough love into someone, they'd never leave. I had a job that mattered, even if no one noticed. I worked in nonprofit logistics for a global disaster relief org. That meant sleepless nights coordinating shipment routes, arguing with customs agents across time zones, and staring at spreadsheets full of food, water, and medical supply orders. It was thankless, draining, and beautiful work. I loved it. I lived in Chicago, in a cramped but cozy apartment with creaky wooden floors and a window that overlooked nothing special, just the quiet, foggy alley behind a bakery. I liked the smell of fresh bread at sunrise. I liked my routines. I had a best friend, Laura, loud, loyal, and impossible not to love. I had parents who worried about me in that classic, "Are you sure you're eating enough?" way. I had a cat named Casper who thought he owned the place, and maybe he did. I didn't need a man to complete me. I was complete enough. But I wanted someone to share it with. Someone who saw me, really saw me, and didn't flinch at the rough edges. I didn't know it yet, but I was about to meet the man who would take all of that and turn it into a weapon. Daniel came into my life like a calm breeze on a chaotic day. We met at a conference in New Orleans. I was giving a presentation on emergency distribution networks, nerdy, niche stuff most people politely nodded through. But after my talk, he approached me at the refreshment table with a crooked smile and said, "You made logistics sound sexy. That's a superpower." I laughed, because it was absurd. But he had this charm, quiet, steady, like he wasn't trying to impress me, just telling the truth. He was a high school teacher, in town for an educational outreach workshop. History and literature. Soft-spoken. Eyes like wet earth after rain. His stories made you lean in, not because he spoke loudly, but because he didn't need to. We talked for hours that first night. Over coffee, then dinner, then walking aimlessly through the city as jazz floated out of hidden courtyards. He told me about his students, how he loved watching them have light bulb moments. I told him about my work, the grind, the heartbreak, the tiny victories. And he listened. Like really listened. By the time I flew home, I had 5 texts from him waiting. By the end of the week, we were calling every night. By the end of the month, we were falling hard. Daniel lived in Milwaukee, 3 hours north of me. We did the long-distance thing for 8 months, weekend visits, long calls, surprise letters in the mail. And every time I saw him, it felt like coming home. Like I'd finally found the place I belonged. He was gentle in a way that disarmed me. Thoughtful. He remembered my work deadlines and sent me playlists to focus. He left notes in my bag when I visited. He made breakfast without being asked. He said things like, "You carry so much for the world. Let me carry you for once." And then came the turning point. He got a job offer in Minneapolis. A well-paying, prestigious position with a school that wanted him to build their entire humanities program from the ground up. It was his dream role, and he wanted me to come with him. "We could build something real there, Elle," he said, tracing circles on my palm. "A fresh start, no more weekend goodbyes. Just us." Finally. I hesitated. My career was rooted in Chicago. My friends, my life. Laura didn't mince words. "It's fast. Too fast." Something about him feels slippery. Just slow down. My parents weren't thrilled either. They didn't know Daniel well. They asked questions he didn't like. He told me, some people will never be happy for you. Even family. Even friends. If they don't support this, then maybe they don't really know what love is. I remember the night I told Laura I was leaving. She stood in my apartment doorway, arms folded, eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. Don't disappear on me, Elle. Don't cut everyone off just because he tells you to. And I did what I would regret forever. I turned away. I blocked her number. I told my parents I needed space. I quit my job. I sold my apartment. And I moved to a city I'd never lived in, with a man who told me I was his forever. At first, it was beautiful. Daniel was everything he promised, supportive, sweet, attentive. He made our new apartment feel like a sanctuary. We hung string lights and grew herbs on the balcony and painted the kitchen yellow because he said it reminded him of sunlight. I worked remotely, freelancing for smaller aid orgs, cobbling together a new career from scratch. He came home every day with stories about his students, his new curriculum, his coworkers, including Claire. He mentioned her once, casually, when I asked who he was texting during dinner. Oh, Claire? She's just this teacher from the history department, nothing to worry about. She's kind of intense, actually. Keeps asking about my personal life. Bit much. I let it go. Because I trusted him. And because when you've given up everything for someone, you can't afford to question them too hard. Doubt feels like betrayal when you've already bet your whole life on them. And he knew that. It started small, little things I told myself not to overthink. Daniel became less affectionate. Subtle stuff. No more notes in my bag. No playlists. Fewer hugs when I came up behind him while he was making coffee. He was always tired now. Always busy. And when he wasn't working, he was scrolling through his phone, screen tilted just out of my sight. At night, I'd lie next to him and stare at the ceiling while he turned away, already asleep or pretending to be. I thought maybe I was the problem. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe I wasn't being supportive enough. I started trying harder. Cooking his favorite meals. Cleaning obsessively. Being cheerful when I felt like screaming. He told me everything was fine. You're overthinking, Elle. Don't do that thing where you spiral. I love you. You're my forever, remember? And I clung to those words like a drowning woman clings to debris. One day, I was grocery shopping. I had his list in my phone, oat milk, almond butter, protein bars, his favorites. I passed the frozen aisle and saw a woman standing there, staring into the glass like she couldn't remember what she was doing. She turned just as I walked by. Claire. I knew her face from Daniel's department website. I'd looked her up once, back when he first mentioned her. Out of curiosity. Nothing more. But seeing her in person, it hit me like a gut punch. She was stunning, confident, the kind of woman who doesn't try to take up less space. Chestnut curls, no ring. Bright green eyes that didn't flinch when they met mine. I almost didn't say anything. But then I did. Claire, right? Daniel's partner in the history department? She blinked. Smiled. A little too slow. Oh yeah. Hi. You must be Ellie. That stopped me. I never told her my name. I've heard a lot about you, she added quickly. It's nice to finally meet you. She left in a rush, without her frozen peas. Something about it unsettled me. The way she said, finally. The way her voice cracked just a bit. The way her smile faltered when I introduced myself. I told Daniel about it that night. He froze, just for a second, before covering it with a laugh. She's weird. Totally awkward. Probably embarrassed because she acts like she knows people from social media. Just ignore her. And I did. Because again, I wanted to believe him more than I wanted the truth. A week later, Daniel left his laptop open. That almost never happened. I wasn't trying to snoop. Really, I wasn't. But I needed to check our joint calendar for a family dinner he swore we had. His laptop dinged just as I sat down. An email popped up in the corner. From Claire. Subject line. I miss the way we used to talk. I froze. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. The subject line was enough to send a chill crawling down my spine. I closed the laptop, sat there for 20 minutes, palms sweating, trying to breathe. When he got home, I was calm, too calm. I asked how work was. He said busy. I asked if Claire had said anything weird about seeing me at the store. He stared at me. You're not seriously still hung up on that, are you? I said nothing. She's irrelevant. Can we please stop talking about her? I nodded. And then I began to dig. Over the next few days, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked his call logs. I checked his Venmo. I checked his Instagram activity. And what I found, it wasn't just suspicious. It was confirmation. Claire's name came up everywhere. Dinners, movie tickets, ride shares. Her number was his most frequently dialed contact. He'd send her payments for things he never mentioned: brunch, gas, a massage. The same week he told me he was too tired to go out for our anniversary. I confronted him. I stood in the kitchen, shaking, holding my phone like a weapon. Are you sleeping with her? He didn't even try to lie. He didn't confess with tears. He didn't beg for forgiveness. He just sighed. It's complicated. No, it's not. He ran a hand through his hair like he was the victim. I never said I stopped seeing her. That's what broke me. You told me she was nothing. He looked at me, and I will never forget this, like I was the one being unreasonable. I told you not to worry about her. That's not the same thing. I didn't cry. Not then. I packed a bag, took Casper, my cat, walked out of the apartment I had decorated with dreams. No friends to run to. I'd burned that bridge. No job to drown myself in. I left that behind for him. I rented a room in a rundown motel and stared at the ceiling while the old AC clunked above me. He didn't even call to stop me. That night, I called Laura. After 8 months of silence. She picked up. Ellie? I burst into tears. She didn't say, I told you so. She just said, I've got you. Tell me everything. I stayed with Laura. She didn't ask for explanations. She made tea, cleared a drawer, handed me a toothbrush, and told me to take the bed while she took the couch. That first night, I cried myself sick. I cried for the girl I used to be, the one who believed in forever. The next morning, Laura slid a folder across the table. Inside were screenshots, emails, social media posts, text threads. Laura had never trusted Daniel, and like any protective friend who'd been pushed aside, she'd done what I hadn't. She watched. Claire hadn't just been someone from his past. She was someone from his present, and apparently, his future too. There were photos of them at a cabin. The same weekend Daniel told me he was at a conference. A birthday message from Claire, dated while we were together. And then this. Happy second anniversary, babe. You make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world. 2 years. 2 years. He had never left her. He had me and her, simultaneously. Laura asked me one question. Do you want to move on? Or do you want to make him regret everything? I didn't even hesitate. I want to burn his world down, but I want him to watch it fall piece by piece. Laura smiled. Good. Because I've got a plan. We started gathering everything. Digital receipts. Copies of correspondence. Names, dates, lies. Claire was a university employee and sleeping with a senior colleague under her own department's nose. That was one angle. Daniel had misrepresented his income on several housing and credit documents. I knew because I had helped him lie. That was another. But we weren't going to destroy him with just evidence. We were going to destroy him with truth. Truth in the right places, at the right time, in the most public, unavoidable, and humiliating ways possible. Step 1. Rebuild. I updated my resume. Called an old mentor. Told her everything, or at least the professional version. She offered me a temporary contract on a research project. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Step 2. Silence. I blocked Daniel on everything. That was part of the plan. Create a vacuum. Let him wonder. Let him sweat. No late night calls. No angry texts. No pleas. Let his ego spiral. Step 3. The reveal. I created a burner email. Claire got the first message. You should know what Daniel's been doing when he's not with you. I was the girl he told you not to worry about. We were together for 4 years. I attached photos, receipts, screenshots of him lying to us both. She didn't reply. But a week later, Daniel called me from a blocked number 6 times in a row. Then came the voicemail. What the hell did you do? Claire's gone. She moved out. She told my department head everything. Do you know what you've done to my career? And still, I didn't respond. Laura had the next brilliant idea. You know how he always wanted to be a guest speaker at that conference in DC? The one he kept submitting to and getting rejected? I nodded. Well, guess who's friends with the conference chair? Within days, we had everything we needed. The organizers received an anonymous tip. Daniel was being investigated for ethical misconduct by his department, stemming from a concealed romantic relationship with a junior colleague. His application was blacklisted, not just for this year, but permanently. Then came the last domino. Daniel had used Claire's address to secure a car loan. When she moved out, she reported the fraud. The loan defaulted. And suddenly, Daniel's car, his precious convertible, was repossessed in the faculty parking lot. In front of everyone. Poetic justice. Months passed. I was working again, slowly piecing my life back together. My relationship with Laura was stronger than ever. I was even seeing someone new, not seriously, not yet, but for the first time, I was smiling without faking it. And then he showed up. At my work. He waited outside my building with a bouquet of wilted flowers and eyes that looked desperate. Ellie, please, just talk to me. I didn't speak. He kept going. I made a mistake. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. But it's always been you. I swear. Please, don't throw us away. I let him talk. And when he was done, I looked at him, the man I once thought was the love of my life, and said the words I had rehearsed in my head every single night. You didn't throw me away, Daniel. You threw away everything you ever touched. And now you're finally standing in the ashes. I walked away. He didn't follow. A year later, I was invited to speak at a women's leadership panel, not as a survivor, but as a strategist. They titled my segment, Rebuilding After Betrayal, Turning Pain into Power. Guess who was in the audience? Claire. She came up to me afterward. She didn't apologize. She didn't make excuses. She just said, he made us both believe we were the only ones. That's what they do. I nodded. But not anymore. We're not friends. We never will be. But we are survivors of the same lie. Daniel? He's still at the university, demoted. No speaking gigs. No promotions. Just a shell of the man he used to pretend to be. And me? I'm more myself than I've ever been. Stronger. Wiser. Sharper. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge is letting them see you rise from the wreckage they created and realizing they were never the fire. They were just smoke.